बर्मिंघम से, मैं जिनको खुद ज़ाती तौर पर पसंद करता हूँ, और इंतहाई हम्बल पर्सन और स्कॉलर, बेहतरीन स्कॉलर, वो इंशाअल्लाह 10 से 12 मिनट तक वो अपना जो भी कोई बंदा अपना पैगाम देना चाहे ना, मैसेज देना चाहे, तो वो अपना मैसेज इसके अंदर वो कन्वे कर सकता है। मैं उन्हें दावत देता हूँ कि वो अपने खिताब ज़ीशान से हमें
नहमदुहु व नुसल्ली व नुसल्लिमु अला रसूलिहिल करीम, अम्मा बाद, फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम, बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम, कुल्लु नफ्सिन ज़ाइक़तुल मौत, सदक़ल अज़ीम व सदक़ रसूलुन नबियुल करीम। किबला शाह साहब, किबला कारी साहब, मेरे मोहतरम बुजुर्गों, my dear brothers, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Time is short. There's a famous book called Hilyatul Awliya, in which states the Hilya, the description of the people who are the friends of Allah Ta'ala, people who are close to Allah Ta'ala. It's a very famous book, and I'm not sure if it's in English, but if it's definitely in Urdu. Those people who can read Urdu should get this. उसमें एक सैयदना सलमान फारसी रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु का एक कौल बयान किया गया है. A famous statement of Sayyidina Salman al Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu were a companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They weren't Arab, they were from Fars, from Persia, but they spent their time with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and were one of the famous companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. वो फरमाते हैं कि 3 लोगों पर मुझे हंसी आई है. That I laughed on 3 people, 3 kinds of people. हंसी कभी खुशी से आती है, लेकिन यहाँ हंसी ताज्जुब से है. And he got ताज्जुब आया था on 3 people. They didn't laugh because they were happy with them, they laughed because they were amazed how strange these people were. फरमाते हैं पहला वो शख्स है जो दुनिया के पीछे भाग रहा है, हालांकि मौत उसके पीछे भाग रही है. So the first person is the one who is chasing the dunya, even though the death is chasing him. What this means is that you do need to chase the dunya because we have to live in this world, but there should be a balance to that. When you know that death is chasing you, you realize that chasing the dunya is not the end in itself. You're not here to get countless dunya as much as you want. You want as much dunya as you need because one day death will come to you. So death is chasing you. And the more you run away from death, the more closer it gets to you. An example of this is that you take from the dunya what you need. You don't take more than you need. Because there's a famous English saying as well, that they say that nobody on their deathbed regretted spending and said, I wish I spent more time at work. I wish I spent more time gathering money. When people have regrets, when they're dying, they regret that's not spending enough time with their family, not spending enough time with friends, not spending enough time studying or traveling, i.e. leisure or pleasure, things that benefit them. They never say, I should have spent more time in the office or more time in the factory. This shows there's a limit to what you need. When death comes, then you realize how vain this dunya was. But when you're in it, you're still chasing it even more and more. And that's human nature. The Prophet ﷺ said that the human being, the son of Adam always says, Mali, Mali, this is my wealth, this is my wealth. But in reality, his wealth is only 3 things. The food he ate, the clothes he wore, and the mal that he sent forward in charity. That's all that is. Everything else, the Prophet ﷺ is left for other people. That's not yours. An example is of a farmer who prepares food. If a farmer prepares more food than he needs, spends hours and hours creating more food than he can eat that year, and he wastes away, would you say that farmer was clever or was being silly? Wasting time creating things that he didn't use or wasn't going to use. Similarly, in the dunya, you only take what you need. Spending more time gathering wealth, gathering dunya that you never needed or will never use, what's the point of that? That time could have been spent in better things. Tafsir Ruhul Bayan, Allama Ismail Hakim mentions, one of the ways the devil deceives you, and they say the devil doesn't always start off by getting you to commit kufr or shirk. He gets you, the lowest level is that he wastes your time. He says to you, do this thing, it doesn't matter, it's not haram, do it. And the person thinks, what's wrong with that if I spend time at TV or I spend time at work or I just spend time lying around doing nothing? But what the human being doesn't realize is that he's losing his time. You could have spent that time getting closer to Allah Ta'ala. You could have spent that time doing something beneficial for your akhirat, but you don't. The second person As Sayyidina Salman al Farsi said, I laughed over, फरमाते हैं कि वो शख्स जो मौत को भूल चुका है लेकिन उसकी मौत उसको नहीं भूली. But the person who's forgotten his death but doesn't realize death hasn't forgotten him. So no matter how much you try to ignore death, it's a reality. Allah Ta'ala says, Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut, that everybody will die. Is there anybody here who doesn't believe that they will live forever, who believes that they will live forever? Death is around us, death is there, but we forget it all the time. And that is again human nature. But how do you remember death? The Sufya Ikram say that whenever you do anything in this dunya, ask yourself, what is the purpose of this? And is this beneficial for me in the akhirat or not? That's how you remember death. If this deed that you're doing, this act that you're doing, if it has no implication on your akhirat, then don't do it. Even though it might be halal, it might be jaiz, it might be worth it, but why are you doing it? Similarly, always ask yourself what is happening. And the Sufya Ikram, as Mian Sahib said, that Qadam Qadam par, issue Qiyamah. With every step they think that they are in Qiyamah, that they are giving accountability for every act that they are doing. So that's how you remember your death. That you remember in every deed that you do and every act that you do. And the ulama ikram, if you sit in the sofa with them, they will tell you, every night, take 5 minutes out before you go to bed and ask yourself, what did I do today? How did I benefit somebody else? How did I benefit my akhirat? Did I get closer to Allah Ta'ala or did I go behind Allah Ta'ala? And some people, there's a famous Arab saying, a poem which I'll translate, which means that flowing water is healthy. There's barakat in flowing water, water that moves. But water that stands still is disease. So even though that water was good, if it stays in one pot for a long time, it gets diseased. Things fall in it, it gets rough. Similarly, you might think that you reached a good position, that you're a good person. But if you're not improving yourself, you're actually going backwards. So just as water needs to keep moving, to keep flowing, to keep healthy, similarly we need to keep our flowing with our deeds and our actions. The day that you say, I'm content, I'm happy now, with the level of iman or my deeds, that's the day you start going backwards. Because you'd never be happy. And the third point that Sayyidina Salman al Farsi mentioned, the third person, they said, is that person जो ऊंची आवाज से हंसता है हालांकि उसको पता नहीं कि मेरा रब मुझसे राजी है या नहीं. It's a person who laughs loudly even though he doesn't know whether his Lord is happy with him or not. Why are you laughing? The real happiness is on the day of judgment. The real honor is on the day of judgment. And unless you know that you're happy on that day, you don't know anything. And don't be fooled by the honor of this world. This famous Tafsir Ruhul Bayan again and Tafsir Qurtubi mentioned that on the day of judgment, the kuffar will have no deeds. So people asked, but they do good stuff. We see kuffar around us, we see disbelievers giving charity, helping each other out, helping the old people. Look at the social security system here, the welfare system. So where are those deeds gone? And ulama said that they will get the reward for those deeds in this world. So the honor and the respect that they get and the benefits they get them in this world. So they will have no need in Akhirat to be rewarded because they're rewarded in this world. Whereas for a Muslim, our reward is in the Akhirat because that's what we're doing it for. So don't be fooled by the respect and honor or the happiness of this world. If the Prophet ﷺ said that if you knew what I knew, if you knew what I know, you would laugh little and cry a lot. So if you knew the trials and tribulations that are ahead of you, if you knew the difficulties that will happen on the day of judgment, one day on the day of judgment will be like 50,000 years. So that's what we need to prepare for and seek the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. So may Allah Ta'ala give us the ability to act upon these good. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Beautiful.